Ladies and gentlemen, today with me I have Alec Sutherland. He is the owner of the Elite Focus Media in New Jersey, a videography company in housing industries, primarily real estates. He also does real estate photography and floor plans, and he's best known for his work on the Nick Wholesale's Houses podcast. Alec, could you expand on that a little bit for us?
Yeah. The Nick Wholesale's Houses podcast is a very, I would say, one of the biggest real estate podcasts on the East Coast by this point. I've been working on it since its first episode. I've done every episode. We started in like September 2023 now, so we're getting close to 3 years working on it.
Wow.
And he's had like everyone under the sun on there that like makes a lot of money in real estate, especially in the South Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware area. Sometimes people even fly in. To be honest, he's had someone from Florida on there. But that's like definitely the thing I'm probably best known for is working on that. But like you said, I also do a lot of other real estate videography. Obviously, through that podcast, I've met a lot of different people that I've worked for. And I also do a lot of real estate photography, like you said, all around New Jersey, and occasionally floor plans as well. And I've had my company, Elite Focus Media, since late 2023 or early 2024, something like that. But I've been working in this business since before I graduated college. It was like in March 2023 is when I started.
So, how do you incorporate cinematography into real estate? Like, what goes hand in hand with that?
Well, generally, if I'm working on a video for real estate, you have to think a lot about what matters in what actually is going to bring in viewership. And so, one, you want your shots to look really good, so you want to get a lot of B-roll. You want to make sure you film it at like 60 frames per second so that you can slow it down smoothly. You want to adjust your depth of field. So you may, if your camera doesn't really have a large aperture range, you might want to like zoom it in a lot and then back up. That'll get you a better depth of field that helps enhance your subject. And then also, you have to think about what's going to make people want to watch the video more, in other regards, such as like comedy, or just hooks. You want to make sure you have good hooks, and you want to you want to make sure your shot looks good when you have those hooks. And then for photography, it's pretty simple. You have to set it up to do this kind of continuous shot. Like it does like 5 photos in a row, and they all have different exposures to them. And then you take them into Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, and merge all 5 of those photos into one photo. But it has like perfect exposure through the windows and indoors. And that's how you kind of make the photography look good as well. So, and also I do a lot of drone for photography and for videography. So that's something that really enhances quality. And with drone, you want to make sure you get a license for it if you're going to be doing commercial work. It's technically illegal to do to get paid to do drone work if you don't have that commercial license, and that's like a proctored government test.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned something earlier. You mentioned something about having the right hooks for things. What do you mean by having the right hooks?
Like, a lot of people in real estate, they watch these videos because they want to know how to make themselves better at real estate. Like they want to know like what's the easiest way for me to get leads or for me to sell this house, or like or you might be like that, like a hook that might get someone interested in the video is like, I just spent $2 million on this shithole property. Like that's something funny. You know what I mean? Like I've seen stuff like that. Or it might be more like, you don't need to do this thing everyone else tells you to do in order to get leads or whatever. Something that like people are like, wait, let me keep watching. You know what I mean? Just interesting topics. Or a lot of people struggle with um kind of time management in real estate, especially with balancing work life balance. So a good hook might be like, um, you know, you you don't have to worry about work life balance in real estate, like or something like people are interested in that topic, so you make your video about that topic immediately. They keep watching, and then you tell them like what advice you have that may be very crucial for them. You know, kind of
Okay.
move the boring parts for after the hook.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
Okay. I like that. So Alec, I have a couple questions for you today, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Perfect. To start, I was wondering what got you into cinematography? What inspired you for that?
yeah. I think it definitely started when I was a kid. Um, I was super into Lego Star Wars as a kid. Um, I mean, I don't know. A lot of people our age just loved Lego Star Wars as a kid for some reason. I really liked it. That's all I got for Christmas. Yeah, that's all I wanted. But that eventually turned into my love for like uh Star Wars movies, really. And watching like the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy, especially the original trilogy, honestly. Um, I really appreciate the artwork that went into it. Um, how they built atmosphere, how they told their story, how they built their world as well. And just how many colors they use, like fog, the different types of environments they'd be in, and how it showed symbolism. Like you think of something like Darth Vader and Luke's final fight in Return of the Jedi. Um, that those visuals are just insane, and there's definitely like more to unpack with them than just they're having a duel. Like there's
Yes.
there's more symbolism going on, and there's stuff like that in the prequel trilogy. I think stuff like that really got me into it, and just all kinds of material like that as I was growing up was very interesting to me. I will say, I'm big into like sci-fi. I really like Halo, the franchise, from the video game. And I
Mm,
sometimes would watch like machinimas growing up, like in middle school. And I think those also played a big part in like me being interested in kind of storytelling and filmmaking. Um, and so that was always kind of in the back of my mind that I really liked that story writing and that's cinematography, visual symbolism. Um, but I wasn't really sure if that was something I wanted to do. I don't know if I even was really thinking about it as like a career. Up until junior year of high school, I just randomly joined the TV media class, which was like basically the only like film related class at my high school.
wow.
Um, and my first project was to recreate any music video, shot for shot. That was our first project. And, everyone had their different ideas of what they wanted to do. Um, and I went into a bit of a silly route and um, I actually did a 2D animation. I made a 2D animation music video into live action. It was a
Wow.
Weird Al music video called I'll Sue Ya. And I actually I put a lot of work into it, and it came out so good. My teacher was watching it on the big screen. He hadn't watched it beforehand. Like the first time he watched it was with the whole class, and he's
Wow.
staring at his computer like he was like he never he just never expected from a student to do something like that. Um, and so. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was going to be that good at it. Um, and then I had like I had my next project in that class. I wasn't really that proud of, and I don't really share it. But the two after that, I was very proud of. And I just realized that year that I think I'm kind of good at this, and maybe it's something I could pursue. So that's why I went into radio, television, film major in college.
Wow. That's that's a good story there. You
Yeah,
never know what inspires you as a
never know.
kid to go into something later as an adult. I mean, that's that's something that you never would think of that would inspire somebody to go into
I
it.
Yeah, you never know where your inspiration is really coming from,
Yes.
what's going to influence you, or what direction you're going to head in.
I gotta say, I'm right there with you on Star Wars. Star Wars definitely inspired me, and I remember being a kid going to see the re-release of Star Wars when that
Mhm.
came into theaters again, and my parents would take me to it, and I would keep asking them, "Is this the one where they fight Darth Vader? Is this the one where they fight Darth Vader?" And they had to tell me like 50 times, "No, not yet, not yet, not yet." But
Yeah.
like you were saying, there's so much like political symbolism and
Mhm.
there's so much like all of that. I didn't care about any of that as a kid. I just wanted to see the lightsabers and
Exactly.
I wanted to see Jar Jar Binks and I wanted to see C-3PO and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like
I
all
like
of that
watching clones
stuff.
versus droids.
Yeah,
You
all
know?
of that stuff was more magical to me than the political
Mhm.
stuff that went on.
Yeah.
I think Star Wars has been such a big inspiration to a lot of modern day film, TV shows, and
Mhm.
storytelling. Really,
Yeah.
it's such an amazing series, and Weird Al is just a big inspiration all around there. I mean,
Yeah.
speaking of Star Wars, he's got the Bye Bye Mr. Anakin guy there. The I don't know if you ever heard that one. It's
Would you say bye bye what?
Bye Bye Mr. Anakin guy. That
Oh, is
song.
that by Weird Al?
Yeah, that's by Weird
I don't
Al.
think I've heard that one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Do yourself a favor and give it a listen when you
I'm gonna
can.
have to.
Um, but it's like I said, it's such a big inspiration. It inspired people like him to make
Mhm.
stuff. It's
Yeah.
never ending. So I share your love of Star Wars on that one for a big inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, and Weird Al, like I said, he's just a genius of an inspiration
He is
there.
a genius. He's probably the best parody maker I've ever seen, honestly.
That actually kind of leads me to my next question for you. You were talking about how Star Wars inspired you and how Weird Al had inspired you. Is there anything else that has inspired you over the years? Any like big time cinematographers?
I definitely like Taika Waititi. I don't know if that's actually how you say his name or not. But uh he started with, well, I don't know if he started with it, but the first thing I saw from him was What We Do in the Shadows, which is a very famous horror comedy mockumentary. Have you ever seen it?
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend it. It's a vampire like mockumentary. Very,
Okay.
very funny. Um he played like the main character in it, and he directed it. Probably played a part in cinematography. It's very well done effects as well. I think it was almost like indie, but it was just super, super well done. That was the first thing I saw from him. Then I know he created Jojo Rabbit. He acted in that as well. That movie was
Wow.
very good. I like how that movie blended drama and comedy in a sort of unique way I hadn't seen before. I thought that was a really fun movie. Um, and then he also worked on The Mandalorian a bit, the first two seasons at least. And I really adore those seasons.
Wow.
And I feel like a lot of people actually feel they brought back a lot of the magic from the original trilogy into the modern day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure he played a big part in that. So he's definitely someone I look up to a lot. Um, I really liked, or so if you're asking, yeah, other inspirations of mine, like I mentioned, I really like the Halo franchise as a sci-fi franchise. I think it's fantastic. It's been a little mismanaged, but what big IP doesn't get mismanaged? I mean,
Yeah.
by this point, I am a big fan of horror.
Okay.
I really like campy stuff as well. That might be a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I enjoy camp. I think Star Wars is a bit campy. I think a lot of you know old horrors campy, slashers are campy, um, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Uh, I think certain horror can be that way, and then certain horror can't.
Yeah.
There's modern horror that I think is really well done that isn't campy, like It Follows. It's a great
Okay.
movie. A lot of symbolism there. Um, and then, another movie that's not horror that I feel is a big inspiration of mine is 2019's Joker. I think that was really
Yes.
I think it's the last movie I saw in theaters that I really felt moved by.
Yeah.
Um, that was like, that was a really impressive film, and I don't feel like its sequel lived up. But
No.
um, stuff like that really inspires me. Just really original, creative stuff. I don't think movies should be afraid of um, creative visuals, intense visuals. Actually, a movie that did move me a little bit after Joker was 1917, which is basically the only war genre movie that I enjoy. um, that was a fun one.
I gotta say, I really love the Joker. I thought that was such a great film, and I agree with you.
Yeah,
The second one did not hold up as well as the first one did.
yeah, it
I like
didn't.
yeah, I like the twist at the end, but everything else about it was just could have been handled better.
Yeah,
Um, I think the problem with movies today is, like you said, they're a little afraid to go over the top, and they're a little afraid to be campy and a little afraid to be silly and a little afraid to be taken anything but serious. And whereas that's good for some franchises and good for some movies, not every
yeah,
movie can live up to that,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
What about cinematography got you going into real estate? Like what about the two like for example, your elite media focus, tell us a little bit more about that. How cinematography inspired that company there for you?
Well, let me just kind of start with going into like how I kind of got into the making this business. Um, Obviously, I was in college. I was going to be graduating in a few months. This is like February 2023. I'm going to be
Okay.
graduating in May. Um, I'm like thinking to myself, I got to start thinking about what I'm going to do after. I got to get some sort of clients or something. Up to that point, the only thing I had done was film a winter concert at Stockton for like $100 once.
Wow.
And the only reason I got to do that was because I had a friend from Stockton who had a connection there. And that was the only
Okay.
thing I had done prior to getting my first client. So I was like, man, I really gotta start thinking. So I'm like, I'm like in Atlantic City with friends, and I'm like, let me go on Indeed real quick and just like apply to some stuff, right? And so this realtor from Philly, I found his post on Indeed, and he had me meet him in person at the apartment building he lived in, and it was a very informal interview. I was going in there like dressed up, like papers in hand. I don't know if I actually had papers, but you know what I mean. Like I was ready for like a professional corporate interview or something, right? So we're up to the apartment building. He meets me downstairs. He's like in shorts and a t-shirt, and he brings me up to the lounge, and like we go in this like private room, and he's just like, "Uh, do you have lav mics?" And I'm like, "No." But I can get them. Um, and he's like, "Are you in school or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to be graduating in May." And he's like, "All right, well, I'll let you know when I want something." I was like, "Okay." It was the weirdest thing ever. I don't think he really knew what he was doing at all either, which worked out for me because I didn't. I really, after I graduated, I learned about three times more than I learned in school,
Wow.
at least about the business side, interacting with clients and what clients want. Because I will say, honestly, school did not prepare me for um, advertising, I guess. Um, it really our major revolved around filmmaking, you know, narrative and storytelling, which does play a part, but marketing is a whole different beast, and so is finding clients, managing a business. My school didn't even offer obviously like drone classes. They didn't offer like gimbal classes, which I was a
No.
little surprised by that one. Um, but you know, so I met with this guy and he had me meet him in Staten Island, like like a month later or something, to meet this one realtor in Staten Island, and he had a podcast with him, and I filmed it in this little room, and it looked terrible, but I did it, and then this realtor, he continued to use me for whenever he had a podcast. He didn't have it on a consistent basis. It was like once a month at most. And eventually he had it on the couch, the very couch that is now the Nick Wholesales Houses couch, you know, in the same lounge. He had Nick on there, Nick,
Wow.
Nicky Wholesale, as they call him. And that was in like, I don't know, June, July 2023, something like that. That's when I met Nick. And then um, in September, Nick reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey man, I want to start a podcast just like him, but we're always going to do it on a couch. Are you going to be available?" I'm like, sure, you know. Uh, and that was really my second big client. And now Nick is my biggest client. I mean, we've filmed probably over 75 podcasts by this point.
Wow.
A lot of podcasts. Everyone's been on it. And that first realtor, I still see him from time to time because he also lives in that building. And we kind of stopped filming his podcast, but I still see him from time to time, and he always finds it funny seeing us there. um, but yeah, obviously from Nick's podcast, I've met a lot of people, and then my business expanded from there, and word of mouth kind of spread even beyond real estate a bit. And, you know, I've worked with all kinds of companies. Like I worked with matchmakers, I worked with dog waste removal service, painters, construction, remodeling, um, uh, a barber, a restaurant. So I have expanded a
Wow.
bit beyond that. Um, but yeah, really, that was how my business started. And eventually I was like, wow, I'm getting enough business. I probably should make an LLC, um, and start drafting invoices on this professional website I made. You know, I got to make sure everything looks right. You know, update my LinkedIn, update my Instagram, update my YouTube. Um, so that was really how that came to be. But as for your question of how cinematography plays into it, um, well, I will say, you know, you have to be pretty quick for a lot of these people I work with. You know, they're on a very strict time basis. They have a lot of stuff to do, so I don't always go crazy with it, but I do try my best to kind of plan what shots I'm going to get. You know, I keep in my mind the settings I want to do to make sure it looks as good as it can. You know, with as little noise as possible, with best lighting as possible. And I have different, you know, rates. Like if someone wants like a more advanced type of video package, we plan for that ahead of time. We'll probably prepare a script. We'll plan where we want it to film it, and there'll probably be a lot more equipment involved than some of my more basic shoots where I'm just following someone around somewhere, you know. Um, so sometimes more equipment comes into it. I have some lights that I use. I have, uh, monitors and different kinds of stuff. I might set up multiple cameras on certain occasions. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how that all plays into that.
It's pretty interesting how you can correlate something as simple as real estate with cinematography, and you can combine the two to tell stories and to help other people kind of get interested in it and help other people understand. Like you were saying, school doesn't teach you everything. You know,
No,
it doesn't teach you all the ins and outs of business, and that's something I'm learning myself. Is school really didn't prepare me for a lot of stuff.
right. Yeah,
I'm
there's a lot
actually
to learn after.
yeah, I'm actually learning a lot more business from you guys
Mhm.
than I ever would have learned in school. I'm learning
Exactly.
how to talk to people. I'm learning how to engage with them, and
Mhm.
more so all about personal relationships with them than school could ever teach me,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And overall, that's not just real estate, but any business. That's what business is about, is making a relationship with somebody and making it work,
Yeah.
you know? Um,
Yeah, I agree.
so it's funny that we're talking about this because you and I actually met through a mutual associate of ours, Nick Awani, and we're kind of in the process of making a podcast studio known as CBI
Right.
Studios. Um, I think podcasts are actually a very big tool in today's age, and I actually think they're going to replace a lot of television. I think they're going to become the new TV shows, and it's starting already. I mean, there's quite a couple shows that are actual podcasts now.
Yeah. There's I don't know if you heard of Jake Shane. He's a popular TikToker. He has a podcast on Netflix now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
So
literally on Netflix.
that's insane.
I think podcasts are growing in popularity because a lot of people feel they have a lot less time. And
Yes.
podcasts are able to be listened to or watched as well. Uh, they're very digestible in that sense. They're very digestible to take in while doing something else. You know, I think that's a huge reason why they're blowing up, and they're very easy to produce in that sense. And a lot
Yes.
more people are getting a hold of technology um, that is very easy to work with. You know, a lot more people are understanding microphones and their own phones, and phones are getting better. So
Yes.
I think that plays a huge part in why there's so many podcasts popping up.
And it's like I said to you before in a personal conversation. I do most of my editing on a phone. You know, you can
Yeah,
it's not something that you need to put in Adobe After Effects and have so many like special effects onto it. If you can do it, that's great. But I can do all my editing on a podcast right here. There's no special effects needed. There's
right.
no, anything like that needed. It's like you said, audio clips or good video visuals, and you're fine. It's a podcast. You
Yeah.
know, it can be listened to, it can be watched. It's enjoyable.
Hmm.
And the other thing that I like about them is you really connect with people while you're recording them.
I feel the same way. I feel like a lot of business calls I've done, because I haven't really been on many podcasts myself. I filmed a lot, but I haven't been on many. But um, a lot of business calls have gotten me a lot more accustomed to speaking to people for a while. And stuff like this, like it just gets you very used to this sort of thing.
Yes.
I think it is very helpful for those who are actually on it. I think just that feeling of, you know, you're already like part of something here. It kind of emboldens your confidence a bit.
Talking about cinematography, we know in South Jersey there's big boom of people who's coming up in the independent cinematography
Mhm.
business. What advice would you give to those who are interested in finding work?
Finding work in
Like cinema,
filmmaking or
yeah,
more like videography.
videography or film alike.
Okay.
Kind of advice would you give to them?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just start with videography since that's more what I'm familiar with right now. Um, and then I'll move to the other one. But yeah, with videography, I think you should probably, if I were to like kind of start over with it a bit, I would make sure that I have some stuff under my belt. Like I would go up to someone that I would like to work for, and I would tell them, "Hey, I'm trying to build my portfolio. Is it all right if I film you for free and I give you this free video?" you know? And then if you want more, we can go in the business together, something like that. Because that's a great, because most people, if they're reasonable, they're not going to be like, let me turn away potential free content, get out of here. They're going to be like, sure, go ahead. I don't care. And, send me it after, I guess. Uh, and hopefully they like it, and if they don't, you still have something now in your portfolio that proves you've done this type of work before. and now you can go do it for someone else. And you just have to go out and start cold outreach, essentially. You might want to message a bunch of people on Instagram or companies on Instagram, or you might want to email them or message them on LinkedIn, or call them even if you want. But you want to just reach out to as many people as possible because it's really a volume game with this sort of thing. And eventually some people will pick you up, and hopefully you'll have the portfolio by then and they'll be interested in seeing what you got. But make sure you understand your value first and you understand what your rates are. You don't really want a bunch of confusion. All right, because then people won't want to work with you again. You don't want to like be confused about, yeah, actually, I don't know what I would charge in this specific scenario. You know what I mean? Um, and it's good to have like social setup and a website and portfolio and an email and stuff like that. You want to make sure you just have all that ready to go. You want to have your systems in place. I think that really goes for a lot of businesses. You want to have your systems in place as best you can before you really start uh, you know communicating with people. For like filmmaking, I did a bit of production assistant work for a little while, for a couple of years after I graduated.
Wow.
Um, and it was like sporadic here and there. I definitely enjoyed the smaller sets better, because I got to wear more hats. Um, on the really big sets, like I did a few in Philly that were like 300 plus in the crew, you know,
Wow.
yeah, big crew. Um, and I was basically relegated along with a bunch of other people to just standing on the street and being fake security and telling people who live in Philly that they can't cross the street, you know? And then they would either be like, why, what's going on? Or they'd be like, F you, I'm crossing the street, you know? And I wasn't really enjoying that much. I mean, I'm sure if I continued that path down that path, maybe I could have became a more relevant production assistant and moved up there. I wasn't really enjoying it enough to stay like that. But I have done some smaller sets where I was a production assistant and I got to wear multiple hats. There was this one in Philly where there was like maybe like 20 of us on it. That was a super creative film. And I got to learn a bit of set design. I learned to work with some tools. I learned to build a bit, sawing stuff, woodwork, all kinds of stuff. That was a set that taught me a lot. And also catering. As a production assistant, you're going to be dealing with catering, and you need to know how to do that quickly and keep it organized. That was a set that taught me to do that. I also did it on another set that was in South Jersey, in Gloucester County. And that set was probably one of the most creative films I've ever seen. I mean, this guy, the director, who was like, I don't know, 27 at the time or something, he went out in the woods by himself and like set up a bed and climbed into trees and attached strings to it, like by himself. It was just an insane set.
Wow.
He was a super creative guy and super talented guy. Um, and that set was definitely the most fun I've ever been on. That was a very fun set. I got close to a lot of people on there. I knew a few of them ahead of time, but I still got close and knew other people that I didn't know. I got connections with them. Um, I saw them a couple of times after that. And that set also taught me a lot. I learned a lot about grip experience in that, gaffing, which is more like working with more like advanced equipment, that is more often used in filmmaking than in videography. It was definitely a very good experience. I enjoyed that a lot. So those small sets teach you a lot more, um, and you'll make some connections to probably get onto more small sets, to be honest. Well, actually, that's not true. Some of the people on there had been on the big sets as well, so they might be able to get you onto some of those bigger ones as well, and maybe get you a better position than what I originally had of just standing on the street. But yeah, so definitely, when it comes to the filmmaking side, if you want experience, go on a smaller set. If you want to move up, on a bigger set, you got to just be consistent with it, um, and try to make as many connections as you can. That's really what the filmmaking world is about, is making a lot of connections. Um, you
Yeah.
know. guess it's kind of similar to real estate in that way. Your network is your net worth, essentially. So definitely would focus on that in the filmmaking world. Just get out there. Um, if you can, maybe work on something that you can submit to film festivals, whether that be a script or a an actual film. Um, and make sure you really take your time with it and make it something worthwhile. Because it costs money to submit to film festivals, the good
Yeah.
ones. So, yeah,
That's great advice. It's funny that you say that. A couple years ago, I actually got to film a movie with a friend of mine, and through him, I met a lot of people who got me interested in the podcasting situation and business, and just kind of wanting to engage with them about what it's like being actors, what it's like being cinematographers, producers, and because of that. My portfolio has grown to where when I message people who are already on the inside of the industry, they see the work that I've done and they know I'm for real with the work.
yeah,
So it's goes hand in hand to really make connections and make a portfolio because people do talk. They do talk and they do check you out and they do see the work that you're doing.
mhm,
It's 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 very complicated, but it's a amazing industry to get into once you're into it.
yeah, it is.
Uh,
Yeah.
so my final question to you is, where do you see yourself in 5 years and how do you hope to get there?
Um, yeah, that's a funny question because I can't say I have a 100% answer on that. I definitely, in 5 years, I definitely see myself having a video editor. Um, I don't enjoy the editing process that much. Sometimes I do. I like it when I'm doing something different, something I haven't done before. I definitely enjoy it in those scenarios. Um, but if I'm doing like repeat stuff, it's not as enjoyable. Mixed podcast is very easy to edit unless we do three cameras, which we have done sometimes. So we only do that when there's multiple guests. But three camera setups are obviously more tedious. A lot of reels I edit are they can be tedious, but um, I do them for now. But hopefully, I'll get someone else to do that in the future. And I definitely I definitely hope in 5 years to step a little more into the filmmaking space, a little bit away from videography. But obviously, videography is what's paying the bills right now. So that's what I got to stick to. I want to maybe work on some scripts, screenplays in the meantime and try to get those out there and see where that goes. You know, that's kind of how I want to get my name out there right now with the filmmaking world. Um, and I've also become a little interested in real estate. So, uh, obviously working with all these real estate people, they have their effect on me, and I see what they do, and I think real estate could be a good vessel to cover the bills as well, while I pursue other stuff like screenplays that aren't as immediate. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the direction I'm heading in. Is those three factors, I'd say.
That's awesome. I know you have a website that you sent me earlier. When people go to visit your website, what can they expect to see?
Well, they can expect to see a certain aesthetic. That's something I definitely worked very hard on with my website. I wanted it to really give this sleek, um, sort of LED aesthetic. Um, lots of like teal outlines around like black boxes. Um, and like a black and white montage background. You'd be like montaging almost a demo reel background that's like black and white. And yeah, they can go to my website. They can find my about page. It talks a little bit about me and my company. They can find a ton of portfolio pages. They can find a contact us page. They can find my socials. Um, find a demo reel, resumes. I think that's it. Yeah.
Can you give the name of your website for them?
Yeah, it's elitefocusmedia.com.
You got it,
Um,
guys. You got it. You
yeah,
heard it here. EliteFocusMedia.com.
yeah. And if they want to reach out to me, my email is elitefocusmedia llc@gmail.com. Or they can call, text me at 609-845-7500. I usually respond pretty quick. I'm a very communicative person. Um, or you can reach out to me on my socials. I'll get back to you on those, probably just not as quick as the other two. Yeah,
And you can expect to see me and Alec working together at CBI Studios as soon as we get some projects launched up.
exactly.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what the future holds for you,
Mhm.
and I hope we can work on some more projects together.
I hope so, man.
Well, Alec, thank you so much for taking your time. I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate you hopping on to the show.
I appreciate you having me on. This was fun.
Absolutely. And guys, be sure to check him out on his socials, Elite Focus Media, and be sure to check his website out so you guys can see his work. Alec, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great night.
Have a good one.